Okay, Islams, let's get back a bit flipping heck. Islam, everybody, welcome back to Asking Imam. Today I'm with...
My name is Abdul Hameed. I'm actually an Imam, an Islamic scholar, traditionally trained, and my background is in psychology.
Okay, great.
Sounds fancy, but it's not much.
Well, I don't know if you know what I mean. Anyway, we're going to talk about... What are we talking about? Easter, did you say?
Easter?
Yeah.
I mean, since it's Good Friday today, for those who are celebrating, enjoying your holidays, the Easter week, the Holy Week especially, coming down to Easter, is the most important date in the Christian calendar. I know sometimes we over...
It's Christmas.
That's the thing, Christmas has become so relevant because of its cultural connotations, because now people celebrate, it's been commercialized. But within Christendom, the calendar itself, Easter, and specifically Holy Week, can I explain the whole thing to you?
Go on then.
It's going to turn into an RE lesson. So, according to the Christians, Jesus starts his ministry, he's preaching, and according to the Gospels, he spends 40 days in the desert being tempted by the devil. And so Christians commemorate this 40-day period by
Lent.
Lent, yeah.
Yes.
So Lent, I think, started in February. You know, what's interesting is that in the Quran, to us Muslims, Allah says, fasting has been prescribed upon you like how it was in the previous nations. So the Jews have Yom Kippur, for example, they'll fast for 25 hours in one go. And the Christians...
Straight.
Yeah, straight. Traditionally, Christians would also fast. And, you know, Pancake Day, for example, Shrove Tuesday. So because they'll be fasting over the next 40 days, they would use up the ingredients like butter, milk, flour, put them together, and you get a pancake. Ash Wednesday is the beginning of Lent, Ash Wednesday. And why it's called Ash Wednesday is because the date palm leaves that were put down when Jesus came into Jerusalem. So just to commemorate that, they get the ash leaves, they get the palm leaves, turn into ash, and he marks a cross on the congregation's forehead, usually the priest or the bishop.
Okay, interesting.
Which is interesting. That's where the whole cross bun tradition comes from.
Oh, hot cross buns.
Yeah. But what's interesting is in the last week. So Jesus comes into Jerusalem on Sunday for the Jewish festival of Pesach, and then he sees the hypocrisy of some of the rabbis in the temple. When he gets vexed
about interest.
Yeah, so he overthrew the table and the altar table. Monday, Thursday, which according to some scholars, Surah Ma'idah is actually a chapter which discusses the incident, and then Good Friday, which is today. What's interesting is that what makes Islam and Christianity so similar but also so dissimilar is today. We absolutely respect Jesus. Jesus is mentioned 25 times by name in the Quran. His mother's. There's a whole chapter dedicated just to Mary and her family, Al Imran, which is pretty cool and interesting. But Muslims, we believe we believe that he was taken up to the heavens, and for us as Muslims, it's close. Obviously, for the Christians on Sunday, they believe Jesus was resurrected. And he
was crucified, resurrected. Well, we don't believe that, do we? But there's similarities in it because what's I forgot. My brain's gone so tight, so cold. My brain's just gone frozen.
I think there's loads of similarities, especially when you look at the life of Jesus, him being so empathetic, forgiving, loving, compassionate.
I mean, I'm talking about this holiday period here. We believe that he wasn't crucified. He was taken to the heavens.
Yeah. So the Quran is very particular in chapter 4, Surah Nisa. God says, وَمَا صَلَبُوهُ وَمَا قَتَلُوهُ. They did not crucify him, nor did they kill him. But رَفَعَهُ اللَّهُ إِلَيْهِ. Allah elevated him up to the heavens. What makes it very similar, I know there's an online debate about this right now, but Muslims traditionally also believe, just the way Christians believe Jesus will return, we as Muslims also believe in his return too.
Carry on.
What are you doing?
Yeah, because you got fat legs. His legs are just massive, like tree trunks his legs are, and I can't seem to get Yeah, he's just a big lad, you know what I mean? So, okay, go on. Carry on,
Yeah, so that's what the Quran says, and for us, like I said, there's a lot of similarities, there's a lot of differences within the tradition, and for me, I just
we should come together on common ground. That's what I always say.
I think the fact that we can
common ground.
The Quran actually holds the Christians in esteem by calling them Ahl Kitab, the people of the book.
And the Jews.
And when you look, the extremists love taking this narrative of like stealing the whole narrative of Muslims being extremists and trying to exterminate every other religion out there, which is not true. The Prophet had I think the most positive relation with any other religion he had was with the Christians specifically. And there were Christians in Najran, on the outskirts of Medina. So when he comes into Medina, he actually signed a treaty with the Christians saying that I will make sure I protect your life, your property, your church, your scripture, and nobody will be harmed. And there's also narrations of Christians coming as a delegation, and the Prophet received them within the mosque. They didn't feel convinced. And as a result, the Prophet said, well, you're free to believe as you wish. Some of them obviously were taken aback by the message and chose to be Muslim, but the Prophet did appreciate and respect the diversity and differences. Theologically, there were stark differences. But if somebody chooses not to believe after you propagated the message, the Quran says, "Lakum dinukum waliya din." For me is my religion, and for you is yours. Well, what the cool thing is, yes, like somebody saying Jesus is God and not just a prophet. Yeah, according to the Christian narrative, absolutely. Well,
not all Christians.
Yeah, I mean,
Unitarian Christians don't.
Unitarian Christians are the minority of a minority.
Minority of a minority.
Yeah, within Christianity. But the mainstream understanding is the Trinity, which the Quran does refute.
Have you got internet connection? I can't see the questions on there. I can't seem to get internet connection.
It's pretty crap.
Is it?
Yeah, we got questions there.
Yeah, I don't know. See, that's the thing, you have to keep scrolling up and down with these. Well, here I can get them on the phone, but I can't seem to. I'm trying to do it on 4G, but it's not working. Look, it's not happening. I don't know why that is.
On and off your internet.
I've just turned it off. Here.
Let's take questions from here. Any questions?
Any questions, anybody? Because I can't seem to get on my phone to get the questions.
Right, folks. If you have any questions,
okay, let's talk about taqiyya. That's a big one from the far right. They all talk about Muslims do taqiyya. Please explain to the viewers, what is taqiyya? Do Muslims practice taqiyya?
Right, this whole taqiyya thing is really like BS. Because, well, what is it? Taqiyya is this idea that Muslims seem to, what's called like an equivocation in English. They double speak, double talk. Where they'll say something but they don't mean it, just to like pull wool over people's eyes.
So basically lie.
What I find, lying, like white lying. What I really find frustrating is you can have a really deep conversation. At the end, is you just like taqiyya, you're just hiding real information from us anyway. It's like it just makes people feel so disingenuous.
It does.
So this is not an Islamic practice, and this is not something which the Quran, the Quran advocates for us as Muslims to do in order to trick people, to deceive people, to make fun out of people. Absolutely not.
Turn it off and on. I'm going to have to turn my phone on and off again. For some reason, not working. At least that's working. Right, let's turn it on and off. So I'm going to have to keep.
I'm reading questions from them.
Fascinating, informative, whilst maintaining message of peace. Yeah, stream is really iffy, guys. It's your internet. Do you want to bounce off my phone again?
Yeah, that's
the thing is. But the thing is, with my phone, there's no internet around here. The signal's crap.
For those who are celebrating Easter, people are saying Happy Easter. I hope you have a really good holidays. Have a good Easter. Enjoy yourselves.
Let's have a look here. Let's have a look at the questions. Let's go from the beginning. So taqiyya is a load of rubbish. That's what you're trying to say, yeah?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like a mainstream normative practice of Islam. I'm not saying Muslims don't lie. Every human, for some strange reason,
look, if I've got a knife to your throat, I'm going to kill you. You're going to lie, you know?
Yeah, but I'm saying it's a normative mainstream practice. Isn't for Muslims just to lie to everybody.
No, of course not. Okay, hi Aaron. He says hi, Aaron Smith. Linda Orm, hello. How you doing, Linda? Joshua, all right, guys. Yeah, cool. Muhammad Sajid, Assalamu alaikum salam. Stephen Riaz, I get a shout out. Happy Easter. Nice one, Stephen or Stephen. Good Friday and Israel is at it again. 10 dead. Huh? 12, I think it's 12, not 10. And just ridiculous saying it. Someone wants to join in. Who's that in? Mohammed Irfan. Who's that?
What does join in mean?
He wants to join. He wants to join into the guests on the broadcast. So bring him on.
If you want to.
Let's have a look.
No.
I'm adding you, mate. So hopefully you can add your 20 pence worth in. Hello, Ijaz. Sarah, how you doing? Speak about Majid on LBC. Oh, not Majid.
What did Majid say?
I don't know. What's he said now? What's Majid Nawaz said now?
You know, I'm going to be fair. I personally, I don't agree with the way Majid and Nawaz and the way his Quilliam Foundation go about doing things. But to be fair, he does raise some interesting points.
Yeah, of course.
And at the same time, I follow Tommy Robinson pretty closely too. Some of the points that they are raising, I think we need to address and need to discuss. But now it's becoming a point scoring. So he'll say something, and these guys will say something back, and the main issue is not being dealt with. And it's just like two people barking at each other all the time.
No internet connection in my 4G. I don't know what's going on here.
I think if we constructively look into the points, but I don't know what he's recently said. So if somebody's referring to something on LBC that he said, you can share that with us.
Okay, speak up, man. I don't know. You can't carry on. So look, hi from Leeds. Okay, am I the only one with poor quality stream? I don't know, mate. I haven't got a very good one here in Evo. Okay, I don't believe it. Sarah Everett said, "Oh, what happened there?" Oh,
go back and put that one.
Go which way?
So it's not there.
Yeah. Sarah Everett says, "I don't believe in any God. I believe in kindness, patience, tolerance, and love. Respect you both and all humankind." Yep.
I think, sorry, that's a really good message. That
I think belief is a really personal thing. If you choose to be part of an organized religion, that's your choice. We obviously, as theists, as believers, do believe in Islam. But I mean, if you don't have to be religious to be moral as an individual, and if those are your morals, then that's cool.
Okay, Bill Ria says, I can't get the feed on it. Bill Ria, really enjoying this. I'm a firm believer of unity of faiths always. Thank you very much.
But the whole unity of faith thing is also important. What again? This is just me being real. I go to lots of interfaith programs, and it's not just about I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and just like hold hands and
Sing songs.
And I mean, there are stark theological differences, and I don't feel comfortable discussing them. But those differences or these similarities shouldn't disunite us as a community. We should be able to see eye to eye. We could be discussing the differences. We can refute one another passionately. But at the end of the day, does it justify me as a Muslim to stop you from practicing your faith? Absolutely not. This is not from the Quran. This is not from the teachings of the Messenger of God. And it's not from the teaching of Jesus either.
Well, we knew in Syria for hundreds and hundreds of years, Muslim and Christians lived together until recent times.
I mean, talking about history, we have like the second caliph of Islam, Umar radiallahu anhu, who invited the Jews to come back in to live in Palestine, in Jerusalem. If you read about this, when he became the caliph, he ruled for about 10 years, a full decade. And when the Christians decided to actually hand over the keys for the city, he specifically said that they will have their Wailing Wall and they will be able to pray and worship God. The Jews, sorry. And the Holy Sepulchre, which is the most important site for Christians, was also opened up, and they could continue preaching, propagating, practicing their faith freely. And it's a really important period within our Islamic history, a very early part in our Islamic history. The thing is that because there's so much like crap going on all over the place, and modern history, sometimes people don't look back as to where the tradition started, what it actually taught, and the religious diversity and plurality was something which was celebrated and accepted.
Wow. Interesting. Okay, so we'll look. Hello, teacher. Okay.
Teacher.
Ahmed and Nuri. Top lads, nice one, Jihad. Jesus is God, not just a prophet. You've already understood. Yeah. Salam from Oxford. Wa alaikum salam. Any questions? Come on, guys. No questions on here. Best technical advice ever. Turn it off and then on. Okay, love it. Yeah. Turn it off and on. Back on always works. It's not working this time. Fascinating and informative whilst maintaining messages of peace. Stu is really iffy yet. Happy Easter. Sound keeps going. It's fine. Can't get mixed messages here. Assalamu alaikum. Can you explain the 17 virgin thing, please?
Right. This whole 72. Again, research this yourself.
So
72. God knows. You know, there's hadith. Hadith are the statements of the Messenger of God. Sunnah is known as his teachings, his statements, his actions, his tacit approval. So things which were done in his presence, which he didn't disapprove of, is also classed as a sunnah. And sometimes there are narrations. So narrations meaning somebody said something, almost like Chinese whispers. You say something, and then I pass it on to my student, and they pass it on to their students. So now we have to verify who said what, when, and to who. And a lot of these kind of narrations are very, very, very weak, bordering fabrication. There's no such thing as you walk in innocent people and then you go and have sex with 72 virgins while waiting for you some random place. It's just absolute BS. And
yeah, it is.
It's the extremist narrative that they keep on pushing this forward. Now, obviously, it's become like a joke within the West that Muslims are trying to kill people just to have 72 virgins. There's no reality to any of this. And in fact, if you kill innocent people, you're going to be burning hell.
Yeah, of course. For real. Okay, hope that's answered your question. Cartel, that's an interesting thing, cartel. Sorry, that was an accident, Riaz.
Oh, that's our good friend Abu Safia Ilmfeed. What's happening, dude?
Rafiq Abu Safia.
Yeah, he's again Ilmfeed. You can join us if you want.
You can join if you want. What's his name? Rafiq. If you want to join us, you can join us. Peace, brothers, from your Catholic brother. Nice one, Anthony. Hi, God bless you both. Thank you. Sarah, let me say hi. Yay, hi. Okay.
Get the questions in, man.
Ask
questions.
Where's the questions, man? Assalamu alaikum. MashaAllah, exactly. Look at the points being raised. Eugene says, when I was taught religion in school, this was from one perspective really questioned. I assume yours is the same. How do we know which to believe, if at all?
He's asking which religion
John
is true.
Stephen Ford said, yeah, basically.
I think I actually, for 7 years, I was an Ari teacher, and I teach religion. I come from a very diverse family. My mother converted to Islam. I have cousins.
My legs,
dude.
It's too big. This guy, I swear. Oh, that's better. Go on, Carol.
Who's telling you to get so close to me? So, what the heck was I saying?
You was an art teacher. Your mum was a revert.
Yeah. So I grew up with a lot of diversity, and I've also always questioned this idea of why am I Muslim and what makes me a Muslim. So I studied Islam in a fair amount of detail. And when I try teaching, I try my best. I teach all 6 major world religions. So I teach them all the different faiths, traditions. I invite people of other faiths, priests, bishops, rabbis, to come and deliver some of the lessons. So then the students have a more of a informed idea in regards to what we are studying. I think this narrow prescriptive way of didactical way of teaching that this is our religion, this is the only thing that you can believe in, we're not going to look into other faiths, it's just weird. If I'm honest, it's weird. And you don't get to appreciate, especially Leicester, we live in, it's such a diverse city. And the fact that if I don't know what my fellow neighbor believes in, so for example, if he's a Sikh and he's wearing a turban, and I have no idea why the heck he's wearing a turban, I think it can be insensitive of me. I could be questioning him. I think many Sikhs also get confused as Muslims. When I was in America, a lot of the terrorist attacks which were happening on Sikhs, because they looked pretty Muslim with the beard, with the turban. It's interesting to learn. And for me personally, the more I study other religions, for me personally, it further reinforces my belief in God and within the Islamic tradition. So this narrow prescribed way of teaching, I highly disapprove it. I don't think so. It's fair to other traditions.
When I was at university, I learned about Buddhism, Jainism, a bit of Hinduism, stuff like that. So it opened my mind as well. It made me have broader knowledge of other religions.
And I think naturally as human beings, you always fear what you're ignorant of. And until you don't go and face, or at least discuss, and with an open mind, you don't have to be so insecure. If I study something, am I going to convert? Will I lose my faith? No, just chill out. Read about what other people believe in. It'll inform you. It'll allow you to have interesting discussions, debates, viewpoints. But just study and learn.
Of course, for real. Hope that answers your question, John. Too much prevent funding. God, what's going on here? Rizwan Mirza, too much prevent funding getting to him. Is there any much of a difference between secularists posing as modernists? Who are you talking about? Getting to who?
Imagine I was, I think.
I was imagining I was.
Not too
Is he prevented?
I mean, no, he was obviously, I think he was government funded a fair amount, which was. I mean, this idea of secularists.
I've got a lot of love for it, to be honest with you.
The problem is using these kind of terms, secularist, using liberal, conservative, and then you kind of superimpose them in Islam, and it's really hard to kind of figure out. Most Muslims are.
Can you explain to the audience what a secularist is?
Somebody who's a secularist doesn't subscribe or ascribe to a particular religion, or doesn't have any affinity towards an organized religion or a tradition. So, I mean, this is a traditional Christian country in the UK, but Parliament, for example, has been separated from state church. So the two are separated. So legislation and laws that are enacted are not necessarily informed by religion to some extent. Obviously, there are some archaic laws that still exist. So it's something which is detached from.
Are we living in a secular state?
Religion. I mean, it's a majority Christian country. I would say to some extent, yeah, possibly secular about the West. For me personally, as a Muslim, I rather live in a. This is me. Yeah. This is going to cause a lot of controversy online.
No, I would.
I feel comfortable living in a secular society.
Oh, secular? No, I thought you were living in a Christian country.
If it's a Christian country, if the fact that you can practice your faith freely, be of faith or no faith, and this is the way we as Muslims expect for our religious freedoms to be respected, we have to also show the same respect for other religions or of people of other persuasions or walks of life. So,
okay, let's have a look any more then. Okay, I hope that's answered your question, Rizwan. I don't know, I think he was probably talking magic, but guys, what safeguards can you discuss relating to extreme indoctrination at an early age?
I think that's a really serious issue in regards to
teachers. So you probably I teach at college, so there are some safeguarding stuff going. But when it comes to kids, I'm not sure.
I think the indoctrination of young people is very, very, very important. The young people are impressionable, and the thing is that when people have this kind of an interpretation of Islam that is not compatible with the West, or sometimes when young people go through identity crisis and issues, and then you kind of indoctrinate them to believe a particular mindset. So you think every non-Muslim is a potential target, or the Jews and the Christians are after us. And this kind of viewpoints are not conducive. So now when this kid is growing up, you feel very confused as hell. You can't make sense out of the world around you. You're always feeling insecure. You're second-guessing everybody around you. Now, I'm not saying this happens all the time. I'm saying is that indoctrination at that time needs to be looked into. There needs to be regulation in places. I think mosques and places where they are teaching, I would say a majority of these mosques don't teach this kind of stuff. And I've come from the system myself. They don't teach this kind of stuff. Obviously, I'm not saying all mosques don't. There are probably some places here and there who are extreme, who are pretty weird, and they may indoctrinate children. But did you see that guy in London? Remember he was teaching, where the heck was it? He was teaching some madrasa kids. Did you see that? Did you read that about that?
Oh, 11-year-old kids, yeah.
25 kids or something.
Disgusting.
And they're doing some ISIS training and
What an idiot, what?
wanted to blow up Big Ben and stuff. You know, I don't think some people appreciate how much it pisses Muslims off when people do this kind of stupid, dumb thing. And as usual, obviously, everybody gets bloody vilified. Every Muslim is now guilty, and we have to say that, you know, this is not from Islam. Obviously, it's not from Islam. But it just makes me question how dumb, stupid, thick some of these people are. And don't get me wrong, I myself am one of the biggest critics of the foreign policy. I don't believe in the fact that I do believe that there was an illegal invasion of a country and a vacuum that was created. And as a result, ISIS came about, right? But does that mean that now I'm going to go and block random people up or everyone's a potential target? Absolutely not. And I think Muslims need to feel comfortable living in the West. I think they need to be able to realize that, okay, these are my issues in regards to foreign policy. This is how I can use the means and how I can channel some of the energy in a positive way. But to think that you can now act like vigilantes, there's no space for that in Islam. And it's not for, put Islam aside. I mean, no sane person should be doing any of that. Whether it's far-right extremism, and that's on the rise, right? In terms of the far-right nationalists.
Yeah, definitely.
And within Islamic extremes. And both of these idiots feed off each other. So you need extremities on both sides in order for both of them to kind of...
The far-right extremism grew because of Islamic extremism. It feeds off each other because of what Muslim extremists are doing. The far-right have got bigger and bigger and bigger because of their actions.
I mean, the idea of Tommy Robinson creating his movement was because of this whole, and the soldiers were coming in, and this was invested, and there were some of these extremist Islam for UK, Anjum Chaudhry, Muhajirun weirdos who are burning poppies and desecrating and disrespecting them. I mean, again, the fact that, like I said, I don't believe in the war, but the fact that if soldiers are not being flown back in, you have to be enough of a human being to, if you don't want to pay your respect for these people who don't want but to go there and cause people harm. I mean, it comes from the Islamic tradition where the Messenger of God forbade his companions from desecrating and mutilating the dead bodies of soldiers. The idea of actually honoring the dead. And so these guys just step a whole different level. And you know, Muslims have no control over these weirdos. That's the bloody problem. If an extremist was like sitting here right now with me, he would have declared me a non-Muslim long time ago. He would call me a heretic. I don't mean call this all over the place. I'm going to call it a heretic, a hypocrite, a stooge. And they're just like name dropping and name calling people. But this is not from the normative Islamic tradition. And the worst thing is these idiots don't even study Islam. That's the worst thing. These guys don't bloody study. And when you look at their past lives, involved in criminal activities, sometimes they're converts, and then they get into this kind of fraternity, and they just drive like mad, like crazy. And what we call in psychology cognitive dissonance. So what you're thinking and what you're doing are contradictory, and you can't merge the two together, and you drive some of these people crazy, and they just want to harm people. And that's what they think they're doing God a favor.
Okay, that's a long answer, but I hope that answers it. Riaz, wa alaikum salam. Hi, I'm from Lisbon. Okay, Andy, I'm not religious, but believe me, we must leave the world a better place when we enter PS. Don't give Robinson any credence. Why is Israel called Israel today? I don't know. Why is it called Israel today? I have no idea, Karen. Do you know?
Israel is one of the names of Jacob, Yaqub, which is mentioned in the Quran. So the progeny, descendants who come from Jacob, are known as the Israelites.
Okay. Oh, Israelites, yes, of course. We are all brothers and sisters, love and peace. Nice one, Michael. Riaz, what's your opinion on this Paul Moore case? The guy ran over the Somali woman.
Oh, in Leicester?
He went back and... Guy's an idiot.
So this guy's been drinking at night, and then he actually says, I want to go run some people over.
He was angry and frustrated. He must be seeing stuff online. He heard about Parsons Green, what happened. Got angry, got vexed. I've got to go and lash out. What's he going to do? Sees a woman, runs her over, comes back around the block again, runs her over again.
This isn't a 12-year-old girl, right?
No, that was after. He ran over her mother. And she's now, she's scared to go out there. She's still
the one
injured.
who had like 5-6 kids or something.
Yeah, she's
Somalia.
still ran over a
That
legs.
place
You know
is like what 10-minute drive from where we are right now.
Yeah, Beaumont's.
It's absolutely
Terrible,
insane.
terrible. The guy was an idiot. You've got 25 years for it.
Yeah.
So
It's his life.
so,
So he said he
yeah, he's an
killed somebody
idiot.
else's
Now he's
life.
in prison for the rest of his life. Well, for big
I
term
don't
of his
get why
life.
the heck do they seem to be attacking women? You know, because women are visible, they wear the hijab.
Yeah, but
It's
look at
such
my beard. Look, I'm visible.
No, but
So
it's such a coward way of attacking somebody, right? If you want to, not that you could go and beat people up randomly, but if you actually want beef and you want to kick up a fuss, I mean, go pick on some men. Not that it's justified. But you're in a car and you have a 12-year-old girl who's walking to school and you think you're defending Britain by slamming her into the wall with your car. Oh, it's just stupid. And like I said, far-right nationalism is rising. It's
rising, definitely rising. Okay, Eugene says, not just in Syria, but many Middle Eastern countries. What happened? I have no idea, Eugene, but yeah, in Iraq and other countries as well. Brian from Bolton saying hello to both. Thank you very much, Brian. Nice one. Rizwan, right. Umari Treaty clearly states Jews are not permitted to reside within our courts. Who is the source of this fabricated claims? Umari Treaty clearly states Jews are not permitted to reside within Al-Quds.
That's absolutely false. I've been to Jerusalem like 6 times, and outside the mosque, it actually has a copy of the treaty of Umar radiallahu anh, and he specifically allowed Jews to practice their faith there.
So who is the source of his fabricated claims? That's what he said. But you're saying you saw the actual treaty written by Umar.
You can research it. It's not only me seeing it. Research it and Google it. And
so there you go, Rizwan. There's your answer.
No, it's mentioned in our history.
There's your answer, Rizwan. Okay. Any more? Let's have a look. Family.
Naveed then. What's happening, Naveed? He just came back from Umrah.
Is that our boy from Birmingham?
Yeah. What is that? British Muslim?
Yeah, British Muslim. Extremely British Muslim.
Yeah, man. Salam to you, dude.
Yeah, salam. Fam, does the Quran mention anything about the writing on the pyramids that hasn't been solved?
No. The Quran isn't.
No, Liam.
It doesn't.
Cartel says, Jazakallah guys, nice one, Cartel. I think I can do it on my phone now because my thingy mobile data was off for some reason.
Yeah.
I switched it back on again. Okay, here we go. Hey, what? So, all religions of God how they sincerely hope something. Harun Osman, I don't know what it says there. Sometimes I can't see all the messages. The very same shit was said about the Irish and the IRA.
Yeah.
Yes, but unlawful Catholic PM at head of British government in 1999.
You're answering the previous one.
That's not previous one.
No, I don't got this one.
Oh, okay. I don't know, my phone shot it. Anyway, let's go down here. There are lots of Muslims, Leicester, that are not radical and are really nice people. Yes, of course, France.
No, let me make this also point. You know, if Islam taught extremism, there are 1.7 billion Muslims around the world. We could have blown Earth out of the solar system if we were extremists
all the time.
and blowing people up and randomly.
We would be in this country right now.
Man, go to any other Muslim you know and just sit down with them and you realize that they're like any other human being, right? That I don't know, they watch football, they do silly things, right? They want good education for the kids.
Yeah,
it's just weird, man.
What can you do?
But there are idiots amongst us too.
Yeah, of course there are.
Like in the community.
Definitely. Yvonne says hello. Hello, Yvonne. Unity is the key. I'm a Christian and I know Jesus spoke to everyone. That's from Kevin Atwood. Beard envy, that is all.
I was just dissing his beard. I was thinking he needs to like.
No, I don't want to do that beard. I want to go all the way up here.
Use those beard oils and
like
stuff.
Something from Plants of the Apes, Gale on from Plants of the Apes.
Fancy stuff.
Yeah, sometimes. I feel like it. Okay. Salamun Jana, wa alaikum salam. Sing chalde. I love that caveman beard. Nice one, JC. Stephen Kempster, okay, thumbs up. Brian Hayes, right, let's have a look. If there were more Muslims like you too, the world would be a safer place. The schools need teaching at an early age. Stop the hatred between religion. 2018, let's move forward.
You know, a lot of religion, like I've said this before, is linked to geopolitics around the world. And that seems to be the narrative that steers the conversations in regards to religion. So people associate Islam to what's happening in different parts of the world. Islam has existed for over 1400 years.
Nearly 15.
When you study the tradition and you see how normative and simple it is, like any other tradition, its ethics, its morals, it's a religion. But like I said, it can get tangled into the socio-economical, geopolitical situations that we see around the world, and it can become very, very toxic, to say the least.
Okay, as I said, I'm a Christian, but Christianity is a new religion. We were pagan for thousands of years. First Christian church, Lona, 641 AD. That's what Kevin said, right? Gary said, we're not a Christian country. That political Catholic correctness of Westminster. 47% non-religious, 46% Protestant and Catholic. These figures are not separated for manipulating maths. That's what it said. George, Joni. Good evening, Riaz. Good evening, George. God bless you both. Thank you. It's true that knowledge helps understanding. Hence, the radicals most use people that are ill-educated people with issues. So basically, guys who've got mental health problems or might be a bit of autism and stuff. I personally was raised with both beliefs. My father's family side are Catholics and my mother's family are Muslims. Wow. We celebrate all festive of both religions. May God help enlighten the minds of ill-educated people.
Amen.
That's from George. That's a new religion. Kevin again, that's a new religion compared to the pagan faith. Okay, fam, we've already answered that one. Am I going backwards here? I don't know, my phone shot it. I don't know what's going on here. There's a crime. I've done that already. Okay, I live in the USA, in the Midwest. This is Nathan Thompson. Why do you think the USA like to indoctrinate our children with revisionist history? They always leave out the genocide of the entire race and promote pilgrimage of the white settlers, yet condemn Mexico for their attempts to assimilate to American culture. When their land was stolen from them with force, how much longer will people let the government of the US go to keep manifesting this lie that Western democracy is the one true way like Christianity tries to portray?
I think that's a really interesting point. I think the fact that our history has been very skewed and very one-sided. Even if you look into the history,
watered down.
Yeah, even the curriculum in British schools, you don't teach people about the colonies. You don't teach about how Britain has an interesting history, to say the least. In some of these books, I have a book here that I was just reading. Yeah, that really good book, people.
That's back to front.
All the countries we've invaded, and the few we never got around to. If you look at
who's that by?
This is by Stuart Laycock. Really, really good book. And when you read some of this, you think, wow, why the heck don't you teach us some of this stuff? It doesn't mean that you hate America or you hate Britain or you.
I've been to America. I loved it.
It's
the
like
burgers were that big. The fries were that big.
You're in a movie all the time when you're in America.
Massive.
The weather's nice.
Food. I got up on a stone in 2 weeks, I think. Something like that.
So you just fit in perfectly. But my point is yes, I think our history is sometimes overlooked. And we need to study our history. We need to reconnect. So, when you have enlightened people like Malcolm X and some of these people who study the past and figure out what happened and how we got here and the journey that we've been through. I think people who are uninformed in regards to the past really don't have an informed future. And sometimes life is a vicious cycle. We end up making the same mistakes again. So I think our history is very one-sided. We should be learning about the Mexicans. We should be learning about the Red Indians, the people who are native there, how Christopher Columbus actually goes there, looking at the history of Spain during that region. That was just when the Muslim dynasties finally collapsed in Granada. And Christopher Columbus was actually
15th century.
Yeah, Christopher Columbus was what's her name? By the King Ferdinand and Isabella, who funded his trip to then explore other parts of the world. But yeah, study, man, it's interesting.
History is interesting if you get the right, but don't forget history is his story. Remember that, his story. Okay, easy. I know it is, but Gareth Sweeney, we are not. I've done that one already. I've read that already. Done that one. Done that. Excuse me. There's Unsolved Mysteries.
What's wrong with your phone?
I don't know. It's just. I don't know. All religions to God now had the sincere hope. The very same. Something about that. I've done that one already.
Yeah.
Islam. All Islam is the New Irish. Familium, of course, no. But first sole writings on primrose was called Ibn Shatir. It was the Jews. It was West Indies and Pakistan. So I don't know what he's talking about. Sorry, break. Why is it so important to introduce yourself first for us Muslims? Why do people need to pigeonhole themselves? That's what John Stephen Ford says.
I think the way how we introduce ourselves is you normally introduce yourself by things that are personally important to you. And so obviously faith is important to us. This show is trying to show to practicing Muslims how we interpret the world around us. But yeah, we shouldn't be just compartmentalizing people. Sometimes you meet people and they say, "Oh, this is my name and this is who I am." And people sometimes introduced by some of the job profession that they're in. It's just a way of identifying yourself, I guess.
Okay, see there. Come on, how come? Okay, let's focus. Come on. Care for each other. Sandeep says. What do you think of Jews' state being recognised? Arabs running out of water, not oil. Catholic state army be peace party there by 2022. then be crushed back to Rome for Catholic state control. I have no idea. Then be crusade back to Rome for Catholic state, then playing the long game. I don't know what you're talking about, mate. Sorry, Gary. You've got to verify a bit more.
Conspiracy going on?
Yeah, some sort of conspiracy. Okay, Leicester is getting bad as London when it comes to things happening to Muslims that are not extremists. That's Francesca says that.
Sandeep Singh.
Expect each other, care for each other, love each other. Paul Welsh.
Just for Sandeep, a point. Like I said, Sikhism is a really, really interesting religion. I've been studying it for a while. I've been teaching it for a while too. I have some really good links with the local Gurdwaras. They do some amazing work. They have this concept called Seva, which is like a selfless service for others, where they're at service to humanity. And you'll see some Sikh organizations. Yeah. When I was in France, when I was in Greece,
went to Burma,
refugees in Syria.
Yeah.
I think the work that they're doing, they're like the unsung heroes in our community. And I think they should be praised more for their contributions within British society.
Yeah. Paul Welsh laughing. I don't know what you're laughing for. Oh, Paul Welsh is a troll. He does my head in. Paul, leave it out, mate. Riaz just want to say, loving the Stone Island Show jumper. Yes, you know it, bruv. Okay. Yeah, my perception has changed on Muslim. It's the Muslims who don't follow the faith thoroughly. That's the problem. Vardy's on fire. Okay. More abuse of words Christian does not represent your ideology or application anyway. It's a statement of belief in same deity, not same ideology. Do you know what that means? I don't know. Paul, leave it out. Flipping it, man. I watched the 25 Miracles of the Quran. It's mad. Amen. I thought you were Muslim.
We say amen. I mean, it's the exact same.
Where, as in where? Where are you? Okay, that's mad. Greetings from crew. Nice one. Gary Sweeney. The Holy Quran and Islam don't abuse Christian. Well, okay, they have an argument. I was thinking that Paul. Okay, there's some people that said Muslims on me out of respect. Okay, this is halal burger. What I was talking about. I hope it was loud. I wasn't practicing then, fam. Verse for physical strength, please. Not long till the London Marathon. That's Mahmoud Khan, runs marathons.
A verse for physical strength? There is a verse for physical strength. Except
is there
hitting the bloody gym
and pumping some iron or something.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we pray to God that God gives you strength. You do well in the marathon. You may be raising some money for some charity, maybe possibly. Go for it, man. And I pray God blesses you, inshallah.
Okay, here's another question. This is from David Blackston. Please get on with the times. Not too long ago, we used to send chimneys into mines. Do we still bang on about it?
It's not just about banging on about the past. It's about actually realizing where we've come from, like I said previously. And especially, what I'm trying to say is that we as Muslims always try to, people say we have to integrate within the community and society and we should be learning and appreciating other people's faith. I also believe, being in a plural, diverse society, that also other people should take the initiative to learn about other traditions, not only Islam, Hinduism, Sikhism, Islam. Like I said, that our cultures is what makes us so unique is the diversity within this country. And regardless of the far right nationalists, the only problem with them is that they think the solution is that if you alienate enough brown people or Muslims, then they'll go back to where they've come from, go back to your country.
I was born here.
Exactly. Now we're third, fourth generation within the UK.
What am I going to go back to?
I've never been to whatever our so-called homeland was it Africa, East Africa, South Africa, India, pre-partition? I've never been there in my life. So we don't know any. What that narrative does, it just alienates people further. So you're trying to kind of fit in, you're trying your best to integrate, and then you second guess all the time. Your question, your religion is put into the media spotlight all the time. People think that you have an ulterior motive to everything. And it makes some people feel very, very insecure. Yeah. And like I said, we're a bit more older, so we can kind of somehow understand what's happening around us. But for a young 12, 13, 14, 15-year-old...
It's confusing for them.
Man, it confuses the crap out of me. And I have a lot of students who sometimes go through some of those issues.
Okay, number one is, Gary Sweeney is kind of clarifying it now, I think, because it's this Catholic terminology of white, not English Caucasian. There's a blurred line between race and ideology. We got on her because the Catholic state law was integrated through Human Rights Act, not being adopted to maritime law from 1998. Got on who?
I don't think so. That human rights was of 1998. That came from the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, right? When it was enacted into law from the European Convention of Human Rights, ECHR. I don't think so. It's a Catholic thing.
Okay. Paul Martin, what do you think of a multicultural Britain? Do you think integration between faiths is important?
I think on paper it's a cool thing. Multiculturalism and integration is a good thing. But what's happened, and this is the sad reality, is that now minorities live in ghettos, right? So you'll have, even in London, for example, you have East London, you'll have particular boroughs where this is just their area. And the fact that so many white people don't actually meet any other coloured person. Sometimes when you're traveling different parts of the world, and parts of the UK, and you don't see any other coloured person for a while. And the only exposure to Islam is the media, or what they're watching, see in the news, or sometimes when you go on YouTube and you click some weird stuff. And then you think all Muslims are like that. So I think multiculturalism is a good thing in general, but it's had some failures along the way. And I think as a community, we have to do much more.
It's when they put the rights of the ethnic minorities before the rights of the indigenous population. That's when aggravation starts. That's when people start getting hostile towards ethnic minorities.
Yeah, but the thing is that Britain belongs to ethnic minorities just the way it belongs to any other person. Whether you, and the thing is, who are indigenous?
But
you keep going back in history.
What people are saying is that working men are saying basically, some of them, not all of them, they're saying that they're putting other people's culture before their own culture, and basically saying their culture getting black. For example, in Spain, the British live in Spain on the Costa del Sol, around that sort of area. The British have their own culture there, and the Spanish don't like it. They won't allow them to. They won't speak English to them, they won't speak Spanish to them, because they don't want them to basically change the whole dynamics of that place. Whereas the British that live in this country, they're saying that the ethnic minorities are changing the dynamics of England.
Yeah. I think part of integrating and appreciating culture, again, it's hard to define culture. Is it food? Is it music? Is it clothing? Is it mannerisms, behaviour? But what makes ethnic minorities distinct is sometimes religion plays a huge part in our identity. Yeah. And it doesn't mean that just because you are a practicing Muslim, you choose to observe growing a man beard like his, or you choose to wear particular clothing, it makes you more British, less British. Okay, for us as Muslims, traditionally we don't drink, we don't eat pork. It doesn't mean that we can't still integrate and just mix in with people. I'm sure you guys have colleagues at work, and you think these guys are just like us. So I think integration is an important thing. I think we need to do more of it. But it's not just a one-way street. It's not just that the Muslims and the minorities need to integrate with the rest of us. I think it's a two-way street where we should also feel welcomed to integrate with other people. And it's hard, right? When you're trying to make a dialogue with somebody who is already prejudice, or sometimes that prejudice can manifest into a discriminatory behavior. I mean, if you see, for example, recently there was somebody who was sending the CVs to different jobs. And they just changed their name from a Muslim-sounding name, from Muhammad, to a white person's name. Yeah. And he got interviewed. So this almost this underlying racism or prejudice that exists is really hard for minorities to kind of battle that. At the same time, from the other side, I can understand too, is for some of the British white people who think, oh, have they come to steal our resources? Are they on benefits or they're not? Again, and the NHS would collapse if there weren't enough. Most of the NHS is the backbone of it, all from ethnic minorities and countries. So we can't just like take the good and take from and leave the bad and this and that. I mean, this is who we are. This is how we've come to in 2018. We've got to deal with the situation as it stands. By telling people to get out of the country, or you don't belong here, or you need to do this, you need to do that. Dialogue, discussion is so important, and we have to do so much more.
It's gone back to the 70s. When I was growing, I got the same views. Go back to your own country, you're packing, things like that. We've gone full circle. During the late 80s and 90s, no one mentioned all these sort of things because people had money. There was no austerity. Now there's austerity, people want to point the finger at people, say it's their fault, or it's that immigrant's fault, it's that asylum seeker's fault. They generally want to point the finger now because there's no money. But once people start getting money again, people are happy. It's a weird, I don't know. It's really strange. For me, it's really strange. Okay, I appreciate you guys taking on the task of opening the minds of people who are confused about Islam. Blessings to you, and I hope your families prosper with a bright future. Thank you, Nathan. Not Paul Welsh, I'm not getting bothered with him. Was the attack on Muslim Day fake news on Facebook?
Yeah, man, that really, really pissed me off.
That done my
Muslim. Obviously, media gave you a lot of attention. I had, to a certain extent, I had my daughter coming to me and asking me, are we going to be attacked on this day? I was like, what the heck? No one's going to attack any of us. But even for young people, like imagine the young children, 8, 9-year-old in playground discussing, are we going to be attacked? Obviously, young people can't even understand the complexities of the world we live in. And it just is scaremongering, insecurity. There's no place for some of this stuff, man.
Okay, it's an interesting question. What are your views on the role of foreign policy in terrorism? In terrorism?
Yeah, in terrorism, in regards to terrorism.
Okay.
That's a very good question. The foreign policy, when it's linked to the ideas of terrorism, I think a lot of, if you're looking at international level, I think that foreign policy is way too aggressive, right? The fact that, for example, we had Iraq, Afghanistan, which was destabilized, and then we had Iraq, which was destabilized.
That was illegal.
Iraq had nothing to do with anything.
Nothing.
That's the weird thing. And that was already a boiling, melting pot as it was. And just about, I'm not saying Saddam Hussein was the best person in the world, dictator, democracy, God knows what's better or not. But he still had things under locks. There was a lot of sectarianism that was brewing. And what's annoying is that people like General Petraeus and all of these, I mean, high leading commanders within the American army, when they were asked what's the difference between the Sunni and the Shia, they couldn't even answer a basic question. And now you're going to destabilize a region that has tribal alliances, stark religious differences, who have lived together for 1,000 years or so, and now to pretend to destabilize the region, to create a new government. I mean,
and never got rid of Saddam Hussein.
That was bad enough. And then we had Libya, which was even worse. When NATO got involved, I mean, Libya was one of the richest African countries. Owning a home was a human right. It had literacy rates climbing up to the 90%. Now it's become a hotbed of extremism. According to some statistics, 1 in 6 jihadists actually come from Libya. And now Libya is also where human trafficking is taking place and human rights violations of black people.
Gaddafi had a lockdown
and being sold.
Never got
like I said, we're not saying that he's the best person in the world, obviously.
But he was that person who can control the people.
There were violations of human rights.
Yeah, of course, but Saddam Hussein had the iron fist. He controlled the people, even though he was harsh and cruel. But he controlled the people. Now, look, when they got rid of him, that was a hotbed of extremism, sectarian violence. It's nuts.
Well, I'm saying this is blowback, and when these kind of repercussions, and then now that's at international level, and then you were here in the UK. I'm telling you, the government, for some strange reason, every time I've had discussions with people who not necessarily directly from the government, but organizations and stuff, even with Prevent, they don't want to discuss the foreign policy. It's like the elephant in the room, that we will not take the foreign policy into consideration when you're looking at issues of radicalization. I'm not saying that because of the foreign policy, now it justifies Muslims acting crazy here. I think those who do that are crazy. They're stupid, they're ignorant, they're weird. We need to drive them out from our communities. What I'm saying is that amongst a lot of young Muslim youth, when they look into how the foreign policy has been aggressively applied into different regions that have destabilized whole areas, it really frustrates a lot of people.
Yeah.
And what we are suffering now, like I said, is blowback. And ISIS have nothing to do with Islam.
That vacuum was
and I'm
created,
sick of saying that over and over again. They don't represent Islam at all.
Okay. Haida Shamarani, Assalamu alaikum salam. Harun Motta, yes, bro, how are you doing? He's a marathon runner. Does all the marathons from Coventry.
The Penny Pill?
Yeah.
No, my brother. Assalamu alaikum.
Hi, dudes. Tracer. Who can't say Amin? Okay. Now, family, I'm asking this strange question. If I was to become Muslim, apparently, the woman can ask for money, for reassurance, or something like that. But what happens if you are skint? Do you stay single without any relief? I think it's talking about dowry.
In Islam,
you get married.
A woman doesn't ask for money, or money meaning dowry. Like you normally give a dowry. It's not like extortionate amount. You can give whatever.
10 pence if you want. If you're skint.
Whatever you mutually agree to. I mean, according to some scholars, it's not even monetary. It can be your wealth, possessions.
It can be a gold ring from your mother or something.
It can be anything. But obviously, if you want to be in a relationship, financial security does help.
Okay, forget Paul Welsh, an idiot. Calling his line out as an idiot. The guy's an idiot. Sorry, Paul Welsh, you're an idiot. I'll tell you straight. I'm not going to block him, he's a fool. Not even worth the time. Okay, Stephen Forty. Has being a Muslim in the 21st century very restrictive? A few questions, forgive my ignorance. These might just be nonsense.
John, I think that's a really cool question. Thank you for that question. Is it difficult or restrictive to be a Muslim in the 21st century? Yes and no. I think the cool thing in the 21st century is with the technological advances, we live in almost like in a globalized world, in this global village where we can be so connected through social media. It's a good thing, the freedom of religious expression and plurality, that we can have faith schools, we can have food that we can eat, which is halal, we can practice our faith, which is beautiful. Conversely, on the other side, is that it can become difficult in terms of sometimes being marginalized. Practicing as a Muslim, at times, if you're outside your area, it can be difficult to find food that will match your dietary requirements. To be honest, sometimes when you do look visibly Muslim, that thing is lingering back of your head when you go to a community or an area you're not familiar with. Okay, how will people receive me? How will people see me? And the thing is that sometimes other people don't realize what we have to sometimes experience. I think also for a lot of Muslim women, it can be very, very difficult to sometimes navigate. So it is, at times can feel restricted. Like I said, the things we stay away from, drinking, and it doesn't mean Muslims don't drink. Muslims do drink, but it's not allowed in the tradition. The whole like partying and clubbing and stuff, which is not normally from the tradition either. So at that times, people who are in that lifestyle, for them to kind of cut back can be restrictive and difficult. But like I said, Muslims are not a homogenous community. Homogenous meaning not everyone's the same. Not everybody is like cloned into one person. Yeah, heterogeneous, that's another fancy word. We're a diverse community. We are as different as any other community. Like you said, you'll have Muslims from all different cultures, races, ethnicities, viewpoints along the spectrum, gay, straight. You'll match all sorts of different people. So I don't think some people appreciate how diverse some Muslims actually are within the community.
Okay, Michael says in, Michael Burke says, does jihad mean war with one's own self, ego, or not how the right wing make it out to be?
The word jahada, which actually means to exert effort, traditionally it means at a personal level, it just means self-discipline and self-control, internal struggle to fulfill God's commandments, internally to pray on time, to be the best Muslim that you can be. In regards to the far right definition, in regards to this physical resistance and a physical jihad, traditionally that's not what the word was used for. However, within the Islamic tradition, there is a concept of jihad, which is usually as a defensive method to protect yourself. Every human being has a right to protect themselves, and as a result, Islam does allow within particular. If you look into the rules of jihad, it is so restrictive. I mean, books and books have been written into warfare, and if you study some of this stuff, where if a battle was to take, I'm saying, if a battle was to take place, where the Messenger of Allah clearly forbade women being killed, young children, old people, plantation, vineyards being chopped, cut up, religious buildings being desecrated, religious figures being killed. There are so many restrictive laws, even when it came to the physical part of it, that like for some strange reasons been thrown out of the window. And people think, okay, for me, jihad is kill random people and then 72 virgins. And it's an extremist narrative, it's a far-right nationalist narrative. Muslims keep on rejecting all the time that it's not true, and that's not what Islam teaches us. So there is the physical concept of jihad, but it's not something which is like the natural foreign policy of every single Muslim, that everyone's a potential target.
Okay, Paul Martin commented about the multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Agree, stand up together soon. I want non-radical people to integrate and get on. I think sometimes people do not want to.
There's so many angry faces, man.
It's just one person pressing the angry button. That's what happens. You know? I mean, you could look. I'll press the light. I can do that. Look. So you can just sit there doing this. Loads of light buttons. See that? I'm just pressing it.
Okay.
So it's one person sitting there pressing the angry button. So I'm just ignoring it. Anyway, so what Paul says here, basically, I think sometimes people do not want to, as they worded, from response from their own community. About integration, integration with the wider community. They said that some are worried that the response from their own community for integration with people. I don't know about that one.
Not meaning in terms of maybe some, I don't know whether that happens or not, but maybe some people may
are very conservative, or maybe they're scared of something, or I don't know.
All these issues are very cultural too, right? In terms of being able to integrate with other people. But, yeah.
Okay, Sam Smythe says, what are your thoughts on Muhammad having a 9-year-old wife? What's your thoughts on underage marriage?
Okay, this is a really.
I'm going to answer this
last time.
Again briefly.
I'll answer this briefly because last time I gave a long explanation. Yeah. And again, this is my viewpoint, a normative mainstream Islamic scholar viewpoint. Is I don't believe that the Messenger of God's wife, she married a 9-year-old. There's a video that you can watch online, and I posted this on my Facebook page by Mufti Abdul that he talks about the age of Aisha, and he's clearly provided textual evidence to suggest she was 18 years old. Underage marriage is haram, prohibited in Islam. There are some communities and societies around the world, for example in Yemen, some rural areas in India, where they have child bride marriages.
Disgusting.
Or they get somebody young fixed up to somebody old and they pay out and give money. This is not permitted within Islam. It is absolutely forbidden within the tradition. And this is not me giving some fancy taqiyya kind of answer. Research this for yourself.
Well, this is a crime, you can't marry children anyway. We did this last week, didn't we?
Yeah, we answered this in
We answered this last week, but yeah, you can't marry kids. Basically, you can't. I've got a 12-year-old daughter. If a flipping guy in his 40s wants to marry her, sorry, I'd knock him out. Straightforward. I'd just knock him out. Beat him up, get out of here. Anyway, Where is it that all like, okay, forgive my ignorance, okay, 4 questions for you here. 1, do you have to go to church every day? You mean the mosque?
As Muslims, we're not expected to go to the mosque every single day, but we are expected to pray 5 times a day.
Yeah,
so there are 5 prayers.
You have to pray 5 times a day. That's the second question.
I mean, ideally, you should be going to the mosque to pray, but sometimes it can be difficult depending on where you live. So you have the morning prayer, which is like right now for like 6 o'clock, and then you have your midday prayer, which is about 1:30ish. You have your afternoon prayer, which is about 3:30ish, 4ish. Then you have your sunset prayer,
which is going to be soon. So we've got to go soon in a minute, yeah.
And then you have your night prayer. So it's 5 times a day.
Okay. Third question of that is: you're not allowed to have a dog as a pet?
No, in Islam, like
do you have hunting dogs?
Yeah, the Quran also mentions this, that hunting dogs are permissible.
People in the cave.
Yeah.
Guard dog.
Guard dogs are permissible for security.
Blind dog.
Yep.
Not dog for the blind. Sorry.
Not blind dog. Yeah. A dog for the blind. It is permitted. But within the tradition, there's different scholarly interpretations in regards to what we call in Arabic, it's the impurity. Like there's things that are impure. This is like the jurisprudence in Islam. So if it touches your clothing or your body, then you have to wash it. So some scholars are of the opinion that the saliva of a dog is impure, and that can invalidate our ablution. You know, when we wash ourselves before we pray. So sometimes there can be some technical issues. Other scholars don't believe that. Like in the Maliki school of thought, they don't believe that the saliva of a dog is impure, so for them it will be fine.
Maliki's really okay.
Yeah, but generally,
because my kids keep bugging me for a dog.
It's not that Muslims have some hatred towards dogs. Absolutely not.
I used to have dogs when I was a kid,
especially the Malamute Alaskan wolf dog.
We've got dogs in Pakistan. So yeah. Good tails, we call them.
Just some Muslims prefer not to.
Last question of that 4-part question by John. For who in their right mind would want to have 4 wives? One's enough, man. Trust me. Imagine having 4.
If you can involve yourself and engage in a monogamous, meaningful relationship and raise some amazing kids, that's a lifetime achievement. Let alone engaging in polygamy.
I wouldn't mind having 4 wives, to be honest with you. But anyway, that's another question.
You wouldn't mind having 4 wives?
No, because my wife's probably listening.
You wouldn't mind having 4 wives?
My wife's going to bat if I say that.
I think that's just insane. First of all, this is clearly, obviously, illegal bigamy. And yeah, man, the idea of why he mentions in the Quran in regards to polygamy.
I was joking.
Is he's just trying to.
Anyway,
he's crapping himself.
J Bang Tidy Ellis. That's an unusual name there, J. J Bang Tidy Ellis. I'm genuinely ashamed by some of the comments on so much hate. Keep doing what you're doing your things, bros.
Thank you, nice Jay.
Okay. Gary Sweeney.
I was born in London.
No, that's Kevin. I was born in London with recently React Trace star family, as you may find, UK based only. Oh no, Italy, Poland, Russian, and God knows where else. So he's not exactly English. Okay. No, in the slightest. If identified as English Muslim, you would not be segregated from yourself. England was created as a multicultural country, 12th of July 927. There's a lot of history there. I can't go through all that. Is it right for a man to have 4 wives in the country? That's against the law? No, of course not. It's against the law, isn't it? If someone wants to marry 4 wives, it's not, the law here says you can't marry 4 wives. You can only have 1 wife.
Maybe class as bigamy.
Yeah. So what's that Islamic ruling on that?
Yeah, obey the law of the land, I guess, and
obey the law of the land.
Yeah.
Okay. Terry says, when we start looking at each other as individuals...
Sorry, add to that. This whole thing of marrying multiple wives and polygamy and stuff, traditionally Arabs used to, before Islam, pre-Islamic, they used to have loads of wives, and it was a very misogynistic culture. So when Islam put the restriction as 4, it was actually restricting them. That 4 is the max if you choose to. And the Quran says that if you fear that you can't be just, then marry just 1. Now, there are some cultural parts of the world where people will practice polygamy, but I don't think it's relevant and appropriate, and obviously bigamy is illegal.
Paul Martin's invited us to the next DFLA meeting. That will be in Leicester. We need to show integration between us and our fan city.
What's DLFA?
It's a Democratic Football Lads Alliance, I'll tell you about that.
Are those people who marched?
Yep, the other day. And today, I think. You know what I mean? Right, I have to say I respect what you are doing, I like what you say. Zara says, well said regarding foreign policy and how prevent and why society is ignoring this root cause terrorism by Muslims. And yes, we are, as what we see is unfortunate blowback. Okay, yeah. Islam side, can you emphasize with how British feel fearful and sense of loss with demographical change?
I think that's an interesting point in regards to the shift in the demographics. If you're looking at, for example, some of the statistics and looking at the idea of minority and majority, but let's be very clear. I mean, still, the ethnic minority within the UK are an absolute minority. And what happens is sometimes the media like playing this. So, for example, if there's a large concentration of ethnic minorities within a particular region, they'll start releasing reports and saying, in this region, for example, in Leicester City now, ethnic minorities have gone beyond 51%, which is true.
Really?
Yeah, in Leicester City.
Okay. So
Now, this becomes all scaremongering, but if you look at the total demographics within the UK, obviously it's still a minority of a minority of a minority. And I can't remember the statistics top of my head, but you're looking about 5-6% where the minorities fall under, and that includes all the people of colour and different traditions. So, but I do understand that some of the whole. I was watching a documentary on the white flight, where because ethnic minorities move into a particular region, and then some white people feel uncomfortable living there because the landscape changes so much, so they have to move elsewhere. I can feel and understand and appreciate and empathise that sometimes people do feel uncomfortable. But I think it's the job of both communities to integrate, to speak, to create a dialogue, to discuss, and to shape some of their viewpoints.
Okay, we have to call today soon because
Maghrib.
Yes, 7:15. We need to start looking at one another as individuals rather than the faith we follow. I'm an atheist and I have Muslim friends who respect that, and it's not a problem between us. Fair enough, Terror. I would also agree Riaz is a top guy that hasn't sugarcoated anything. Sugarcoat. Oh, that idiot, Paul Welsh, will sugarcoat everything. Guy's an idiot. You can't keep dogs inside your house, but for blind people it's allowed inside, of course. That's what someone's saying. Is Mo Salah the best Muslim around today? Mo Salah, la la la, Mo Salah, la la la.
I love that video.
Yeah, I love it.
Like I said, he's the Muslim who seems to be getting a lot of publicity within the media.
As soon as he goes to Barcelona, he won't. Or Real Madrid.
I pray God blesses him for his efforts, man.
Yeah, nice guy. Okay, I've romanced that one. Okay, so if a non-Muslim open-mindedly observe, then I am sure, in my humble opinion, they will realise and come to learn. Muslims, in fact, do really integrate more than many other faiths. This is a stereotype that has been promoted by narrow-minded people. Typical example: integration in workplaces, integration in education, integration in events, integration in society in general. Do not please mix culture with religion.
I know, and you have Muslim politicians, you have people who in all streams and areas of life. You have your teachers, your policemen, in every area, doctors, nurses, teachers, physicians, who are Muslim. And like I said, we do integrate. And there was an interesting survey done in regards to how different communities feel. And the Muslim community was scored in the 52% compared to other communities. So more than half of the Muslim, obviously, for those who are surveyed, felt the sense of Britishness and a sense of belonging. So yeah, I mean, you'll see Muslims in every walk of life.
Okay, last couple of questions. Riaz used to get some Charles Bronson glasses.
Yeah, that is so true. Oh my God, that guy's very weird. Except that you haven't made it random people.
Yeah, no, I haven't. No, and I don't think I will do anyway. As today is Good Friday, a very important day in the Christian religion. It's from Tony Daly. I wondered, what are your important days of the year?
Tom, was it Tom?
Tom Daly.
Tony.
Tom. Oh, sorry, Tony Daly.
You need some
I need some glasses, man.
Oh,
Charles Bronson glasses. Yeah.
Well, I'm with glasses.
It's because looking at these things make your flipping eyes go fuzzy.
I think for those who are commemorating Good Friday, I hope you have an excellent Easter break, Easter holiday. Enjoy yourselves, have fun with your family. Obviously, go visit the church, pay your respect. I also go to the church. I'm normally invited, and I have a cool time, man. We sit there, discuss. I don't discuss much, but I'm just observing some of their prayers and just to show my respect. In Islam, we have two main festivals. So we have two Eids, the Eid of Adha, and Eid al-Fitr. So after the 30 days of fasting, which is coming very soon, I think 44 days or something, after the end, we'll have a day of celebration. And then at the end of our Hajj, not end of the Hajj, but during Hajj coming to an end, we also have another festival. So we have two Eids that we celebrate in the year.
Okay, great. Thank you for listening. I think on Sunday, hopefully, I'll have an American bloke coming in. I'm going to do a little discussion with some American bloke. And basically, we're going to talk about this, who was that? What was that bomber? Austin Bomber. The Austin Bomber, yeah. About the Austin Bomber, that's what we're going to talk about. On Monday, hopefully, we're going to have a young lady and talking about autism. Because it's Autism Week this week. And on Monday, I think everyone's got to wear blue on Monday. So I expect you guys to wear blue on Monday. Yeah? So thank you for listening.
You guys, just a quick plug-in. If you guys get a chance, go check my Facebook page out. It's called Shaykh Abdul Hameed. If you have any questions or anything you want to discuss or your viewpoints, or you want to troll me,
I get trolled all the time.
Go on my Facebook page. I'm more than happy to answer your questions. And like I said, open up that dialogue for discussion. Yes, thank you so much for your questions.
Okay, just close the statement. In Indonesia, during Ramadan, you feed the poor. Most humbling thing I've ever done. Excellent, Chris. Nice one, mate. Take care. God bless. See you
Take care,
soon.
people.
Assalamu alaikum.